There is a Netflix clip of Jin that people have been freaking out about. There's also people talking about dating and former moments about that, as well as people talking about leaving BTS and what the BTS members' reaction to that is. So hey Dumplings, it's Dave Desai. Let's get into it. There was an article that was recently published where people were talking about the BTS members' reactions to their community leaving them and potentially coming back. And they wanted to talk about how different each of the members' reactions were. And I believe not every single one of the members had had the pleasure of hearing that someone has left the community. Like, I'm sure they know online, but they haven't been told to their face. Of course, I also want to preface here that leaving the community is fairly normal. And this exists within any type of genre, any type of entertainment career, and any type of artist. People's interests change, and typically what artists are famous for or known for, and that specific style that they do is not going to completely change throughout their career. And they're usually not going to do a whole 180, although nowadays we're starting to see more of that trend. But back then, that was not the case. And so a lot of people, if they find themselves loving, let's say, country, they would abandon BTS, things like that. However, we're not really talking about people leaving for country in today's video. We're getting into people leaving BTS for maybe another popular group. Jimin was on a show, I believe, from the YouTube channel called Pixid, and in the show, he was basically playing a texting game. We won't get into the game specifically, but there was one person in the video that was talking about how she left the BTS community and had recently joined the Stray Kids community, and when Jimin heard this, he basically was saying that he wanted her back, and no disrespect to Stray Kids, but he was going to bring her home. That's what he said. This is such an interesting reaction, and it's such a fatherly reaction because, of course, veterans in the industry are going to have people kind of leaving, coming back, and they've been around that, and they've been around long enough where they know that people can leave and come back. But this is definitely a completely different reaction, almost a 180 reaction to what JK does when he knows that maybe he has lost someone. He once talked about, I believe, during a behind the scenes clip where he was aware that people might move on or kind of change directions with their life, but whether they move on or not, if they have just loved BTS once and shown their support once, then he wishes them the best and he really loves them for that. He talks about those specific memories that they've had with BTS and the ones BTS have had with them, and he thanks them for those memories. And regardless of whether you move on to a different group or you love someone else, or maybe you just leave like fan culture of music altogether, you're still going to remember the times that you went to a concert and enjoyed the experience with everyone there. You're going to remember seeing them live if you've ever done that. So I'm sure those are memories that he might be talking about. Well, of course, talking about memories like maybe live streaming and him seeing those comments and things like that, I'm sure those are things as well. And it's really cool because we might not be able to directly interact with BTS face-to-face or talk to them directly, but they have affected our lives in such a way that's very indirect. There's a lot of people who might be having a lonely night and they might turn on their phone and they see that JK is on and they eat dinner and that he's eating dinner and they decide to join him. Someone can go through a really hard time in their day. Maybe they're going through a breakup or they're just going through their family yelling at them, and they go and check their phone and they see JK there and it makes them feel better. These are memories that I don't think he's even aware that he's been a part of. But of course, it matters to us. This reaction definitely made me a bit emotional to kind of hear him say that, so that makes me very grateful to be part of the community. Some people were saying that it's funny that some have left, but of course, people have left. No matter how big you get, and no matter if you're at the peak of your career or not, there are going to be people who follow in and out. And that's just how it is. If you've ever sat there and you've watched YouTubers put on TV, like the live subscriber count thing, and then you can kind of see that it'll go up and down. It has nothing to do whether the artist or the YouTuber is popular or whether they're in a scandal or not, but people just leave because they decide that they're not interested in that type of content or music anymore, or whatever the reason is. And people have their reasons, right? And of course, in the same way people have their reasons as to why they believe in things, one of the things that people had heavily believed in is, of course, the Jimin and JK dating rumor. And this, of course, is very interesting because a lot of the evidence is very situational and kind of coincidental rather than anything that is solid. And of course, solid would be admitting to the relationship or making out on camera, which we haven't seen. But of course, people believe that they have kissed on camera, it just was out of frame or whatever. But do you really think that they would do that with other people around if they were trying to hide their relationship? Also, with cameras around? Probably not. I mean, even Western stars where dating is acceptable, they don't even do things like this when they're not ready to go public with a relationship. However, those clips are not the clips that we're going to be talking about today. One of the clips that had gone viral was one where it showed JK pushing on his heart and then pointing to Jimin. So there was a situation in which JK was behind Jimin. It seemed like at a concert, and he purposely tapped his heart and then went and put his hand out and pointed to Jimin to let Jimin know that his heart belonged to Jimin or was going out to Jimin. And of course, I think this is really cute. I think this is such a fun thing for JK to do, but doesn't mean that they are romantically together. I don't really know about that. You can do this with your friends. This isn't something that is exclusive to just a romantic partner. Things that are typically exclusive to a romantic partner are probably things like sleeping with them or making out with them, as I just said. But this would be something that he would do because he's close friends with Jimin, which obviously is no shock here, because people are also oftentimes confusing things and saying, oh, well, they're obviously really close, so that means that they're dating or together. Well, they can just be really close friends. And we know that because they had enlisted together in the buddy system. So obviously they're really good friends at the very least. And in my opinion, that actually is what's happening. And of course, these types of rumors are going to exist all the time. One of the recent rumors that I thought was very interesting was a lot of people talking about how Jin seemed like he was in a relationship with someone due to a picture that came out. So if you're not aware, he is recently on a reality show out on the 8th, so already out, and it's on Netflix. This is Netflix Asia, and I don't fully know if this is ever going to be open to the main Netflix or if you just need like a VPN to watch this show. And obviously if it's on Netflix, then it probably won't be available anywhere else, so you won't be able to watch it on YouTube or whatever. But it would be a great time to have a VPN sponsorship with a discount code and put it right here, but I actually don't have one. But if you want to get into the specifics of the show, the trailer and all that stuff, that's out already, and there's a lot of clips already out. So definitely feel free to check that out on YouTube, even if you don't have Netflix Asia. However, there was a clip that I guess was being used as promo or was circulating where it showed Jin right next to the Korean actress Ji Yeon. They weren't really doing anything. People were acting as if they were kissing, and Netflix had leaked this huge scandalous image of the two of them doing something. In reality, they were just literally sitting right next to each other. Some people took this as this was the boys' way of easing into the wedding announcements, basically saying that one day they will announce their marriage, and this was their way of kind of slowly diving into that. However, even that logic is very flawed in my opinion, because if the boys were to use this as their announcement, because they're looking to one day get into dating rather than right off the boat get married. However, what I believe is happening here is they're just doing their job, and they're just it's normal to do their job. I don't think people fully grasp or were aware of probably the hoops they had to jump through to make sure that any piece of work that they were doing, that they were never around a woman, that the woman couldn't even be seen in the same frame as them or at an award show. They would have to distance themselves 3 miles away from a girl because God forbid they're in the same frame. And it's absolutely crazy to have the assumption of two people dating or in a relationship together because they're sitting next to each other, or the fact that he is currently dating just because there is a woman next to him now, and that he's, I guess, not scared to talk to women. Meanwhile, he never really was. Everything that I've just said are obviously things that have been already said, and other people have already made it clear that this is exactly what they're upset about. However, there are people who are saying things that make their argument very weak. So for example, some people have mentioned that it's very misogynistic to assume any woman next to the BTS member is dating, and it's basically inferring that women are only for dating. I get this. This argument makes total sense to me, that like people are upset about that. But then they continue to say that assuming that Jin being next to a woman and they're dating is also very homophobic. And I think that argument tends to make the argument very weak. And people will read comments like that, and even if everything else is perfect and they agree with, but just that ending bit is something that they don't like, people will not take any of it seriously anymore. Because this would imply, let's go with what the haters say, that if he's around women, he's dating them, and that's what women are good for. But then those same people are okay with Jin being around men. So technically they're not homophobic then, right? They would prefer him to be gay. But perhaps I'm misunderstanding something, and I definitely want to hear what your thoughts are. Let me know what you think. Make sure to check out Patreon for more videos. Link down below. Thank you. Just leave a comment right here. Love you. Bye.